Hi, welcome to this episode of the Make Jack's Weird podcast. And in this episode, I interview April Caldwell. She is a local, of course, financial advisor and money coach. And she does she's doing a series of events, monthly events, for women to get excited and empowered about financial planning and their money issues and their money story. And you'll hear, keep listening. I'm Patricia Flores, creator of Make Jack's Weird, and your hostess here. Is it host or hostess? A couple of our sponsors. They're the same ones we always have. First of all, Goliath Flores, amazing local musician. I think he's the best local musician in town, but I'm totally biased because he is my baby daddy. And this is his studio, and he's financing the whole deal here. So, best sponsor ever. And he is also, like I said, best local musician in town. He does a mix of Latin and flamenco. He sounds like a one-man band. If you've ever heard him, I know you've been totally impressed or possibly totally jealous. But either way, there's no denying how great he is. And musician for hire. And he also started Jacksonville's first mariachi band. Yes, mariachi Primera Costa. And they're pretty good. If you've never seen a mariachi band, you might want to check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's goliathflores.com, and you'll find links to his work and contact info and the mariachi band as well. And the other sponsor is me, myself, and I. I'm a registered mental health counseling intern in private practice here in town. I'm a therapist. So the Make Jack's Weird is an art project for me, a passion project, a way to connect with the community and invigorate the community and inspire people. And but my day job, I'm a therapist, and you can see more about my work there at infiniteselfhelp.com. And hey, I'm sponsoring my own podcast. What can I say? And I hope you enjoy this episode. I enjoyed recording it. And sneak peek into the episode, it's actually the first one that I recorded, and I was totally nervous. And I was meeting April for the first time, and she was super kind and accommodating for me to be nervous. She was a great first guest to have. And I love what came out of our conversation. And I am sharing that to be open, to practice being open and show that I'm stretching myself to do this, to put myself out there in the world. I want to be a living inspiration for people to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And here it is. I'm doing a podcast. So this is the first intro I'm recording, and what you'll hear next is the first episode I'm recording, and it's only going to get better from here because that's how things roll. And I hope you will be inspired after hearing this, or if you're watching it on YouTube, to say, hey, I could do that. So if you feel like you could do something like this, or you've been wanting to act on whatever idea you have inside of you, I invite you today to go for it. Take that first step, and I'll see you on the flip side. Welcome this guest to the podcast here today. It's April Caldwell, and you are a money coach,
I am.
And am I correct? You were in like corporate and then you launched off and you're doing something.
I was in corporate finance for about 20
Mm-hmm.
years. And then in '08, I left corporate and became, yeah, a business owner, entrepreneur in the financial industry. And then more recently have even branched a little bit further away from mainstream finance to create something new and exciting for people and for women to really embrace money and understand what that means.
And so tell me about um, making that leap and branching out and overcoming the fears of stretching out of your comfort zone and do something new.
Oh my gosh, I said no 5 times. Um, I was asked to come to this financial firm, leave my corporate job, go from, my bi weekly paycheck to a here's what you can have
Yeah.
in this cyclical roller coaster of being a business owner. And I said no 5 times.
Right.
And it was scary. I'm like, I have a kid. She's in braces. We have a mortgage. We had just moved down back here from Ohio. And it was scary, but somebody said something to me that reminded me of the dream I had when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. I always wanted to be a business owner. I always wanted to be boss.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, they said, I still remember it, they said, one day I'm going to drive into my own office. April, do you want that? And I did.
Yeah.
And so I said yes. And so I made this leap, and it has been a fantastic ride.
And so part of the meaning there for you is your dream that you had as a child. And the work you do is actually to help other women to kind of do the same thing and
Yeah,
take a leap.
absolutely. Remember a dream. Start dreaming again. And their dream, you know, may be and probably is completely different than what my dream was. But we can still achieve our dreams. And it is about helping women kind of get the money part right so that they can have what they want because it is achievable.
And say more about why is it so important for women specifically?
Okay. So I might get on my soapbox a little bit. Um, we are, as women, are so brilliant and so smart and so diverse and so unaware of how awesome we are sometimes that we don't feel empowered to learn about money. So if you look at a typical woman, we are running the household, we take care of the budget, we know which kids are going to go to which schools and if we can afford private school and how much home we can afford. And we take care of all these day to day things, but we ignore or do not educate ourselves on long term money, retirement, long term savings, and that sort of thing. Sometimes and I'm married and I love men, I love my hubby, but we let men control the retirement. He has a 401k, but I don't need to know anything about that. He's taking care of that. And I think that women need to realize that they can learn that piece of it too. We are going to end up controlling all of the money. Women are the main spenders in the house. We are going to inherit from our parents. We are probably going to inherit from our spouse because women live longer. We need to know what to do with this money.
And I'm I've read about it. Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen that theme of women having an issue with this, and there's a lot of it's also an issue with like it's very emotional is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at. So money has to do with power, but then there's also all of this game and shame and guilt and then not wanting to look at it and fear.
Yes.
So that's the piece that interests me the most, I guess, the coaching
Yeah.
part of it,
Okay.
and like helping people. Is that part of what
It is part of what
yeah.
I do, and you're dead on with all of your adjectives. It's emotional. It's about power. It's about guilt. It's about shame, and we don't realize that we have money stories. Our childhood, how our parents dealt with money, how they talked about money, to us has a great impact as adults on how we think about money, how what our emotions are tied to it, and then there's the shame and their guilt. Either I could, I love this because rich women, poor women, we all have guilt, we all have shame. Either we have too much money, we don't have enough money, we need to be doing different stuff with our money, we're not educated enough about our money. There's all of this wrapped around it, and it doesn't have to be like that. Money doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also like rude to talk about it or something like that. So we're not talking about it, and we're walking around sort of with all these emotions and feelings about it, and the talk that we do say about it publicly is part of these popular stories or just cliche phrases, and then people aren't getting the help that they need, and then like, well, bad things can happen when you don't look at your money or take care of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what kind of
So you're dead on when you say we don't talk about money. A lot of people were raised to think that talking about money is rude. But think about what we talk about to our girlfriends. Think of some of the crazy, nasty, personal things we talk to each other about. But we don't talk about money. Right? We will give advice on boyfriends and what that deadbeat should and shouldn't be doing and the shoes I just bought. But we don't talk about money. And so I think that does have to change. I think that we need to be talking to each other. And if we don't talk about money, if we don't face our money, bad things can happen. Absolutely. And bad is a sliding scale. It can be late payments, it can be your credit, it can be foreclosures, it can be losing the house, it can be losing the car. It can just be turning 65 years old and still having to work because we didn't pay attention to our money.
And how about like women in different sides of the spectrum? Like I think about people on the lower end who are like, well, I don't have a lot of money, and then they don't know how to manage it, and then they're like, well, I can't hire someone to help me learn how to take care of my. So what is the shift in mindset needed there for that woman?
Well, what we can and can't afford a lot of times is value based. And what I mean is I've worked with a lot of clients and potential clients that can't afford to work with somebody and get their money straight, but they have the pool guy and they have the yard guy and they have the cleaner. So what are you wanting to, do with your money is really part of it. And there are absolutely some people that just can't afford, and they are strict with their budget and they are watching every penny, and it's just not there. So most of society lives paycheck to paycheck. So there is a mindset shift that does have to happen. There is some piece that I do that I don't charge because I don't think that people need to pay to figure out that, they need to put $50 a month into an IRA, or figure out certain things. I think that reading good books, talking to their friends that have their stuff together and really have their stuff together, not the Facebook stories that we tell each other,
Mm-hmm.
but the real life. She's got her money together, getting advice on that. I run monthly workshops that are $10 a month. That's less than McDonald's drive-through.
Right.
So there's resources out there that people can still educate themselves to get out of that cycle of paycheck to paycheck.
And then the result is then you're really empowered.
Yeah.
And you can live a fuller life and get to reaching those dreams
Yeah.
versus, because paycheck to paycheck, that's scarcity and fear.
Yeah.
And then, so by learning about your money story and just starting to make some different choices, you can change it and write a new story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And knowledge can change a lot of it. Just really looking at, people hate the word budget. I love the word budget. Budget is empowering. Budget isn't about guilt and shame if you look at it the right way. It's about telling your money where to go. It's about being the boss of your money, giving every dollar a job before you spend it. And once you start looking at that, then you can change your mindset and you can change your situation.
And it can actually turn out to give you more freedom versus people don't want to budget maybe because it feels like restriction.
Yes, and I've had a friend say that to me, but it's not about restriction. It's, what, if you want to spend $120 on a pair of shoes, spend it. Just know that you're going to spend it. Make that decision. Don't look back and be like, oh, I spent $120 on shoes.
Right.
Like, nope, I'm spending $120 on shoes.
And then you can really enjoy it.
Yes, and then it's not guilt, and then it's not, you want to go rock those shoes. You don't want to, like, hide them in the closet, and pull them out and be like, oh, well, these are the ones I spent too much money on. So, yes, freedom, empowerment, fun is what money can be.
And so Make Jax Weird is all about, it's a hyper-local movement with the philosophy that when whatever we're doing out in the world, locally here in Jacksonville, it will impact our community locally, but then it also has an untold effect. It's our work in the world. It's who we are in the world and the impact we can have on the world. So you being a trailblazer, can you talk about the trailblazer concept?
Okay. I love the Trailblazers. This is something that I revamped from what I had done previously, and I'm, launching in 2018. Trailblazers are those people that are blazing their trail. They are the ones that are finding their dreams and making them happen, whatever those dreams are, big or small. So Trailblazers in 2018 is going to be monthly workshops for women where there's going to be a trailblazer from Jacksonville that's going to come and be a speaker. So I've got great speakers lined up every month. And then we're going to talk money too.
Mm-hmm.
We have some booze, we have some food, and we have a really good time. And it's about starting with a group of women, because this is a women's only event. Crazy things happen when it's just women in a room, and we really talk about money and other things. As a holistic money coach, I think that we need to look at all areas of our lives in order to have freedom, in order to have fun. And these are going to be women in Jacksonville that are doing amazing things.
And what are the qualities of a trailblazer, these people that you're selecting? Like, how do you notice them? What are they doing?
A lot of them are people in my circle, a lot of women that I know through business connections, and I've seen them and I've watched them, and they're authentic. And they are, most of them are empowering women. Most of them are women business owners, and their target is women. It's about changing the lives of women in Jacksonville. So they're authentic, they're badass, they are empowering people around them, they're changing their community, and as a result, the rest of the world.
Yeah, and my thoughts there on that, there was after the 2016 election, there was the Women's March.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole year of 2017 has been seeing effects of that.
Yeah.
I think. So I sort of see this trailblazers.
Yeah.
Sort of maybe coming from the energy of people being fired up right now.
Yeah, and I love that. We need to be fired up. Women, men, we need to be fired up, and we need to just live on purpose. Just be really conscious of what we want to do. And for some, working a dead-end job in a corporate field isn't going to be it.
And so tell me more. Tell me more about your ultimate vision, I guess, as far as specifically for Jacksonville. Like you're doing your work to make your impact, and like what if you're dreaming? What could some of the fruits of that be? Like in 10 years?
In 10 years? Okay. Are we talking personally or the change that I'm hoping to see come out in Jacksonville?
I guess both. So the city, the work you're doing, and how does it fit into Jacksonville
Okay.
specifically, I guess. Yeah.
So I think that when people start being responsible, I know that sounds so boring, but when we start being responsible and mindful of our money individually, this has just a ripple effect. We can then be smart about our money choices and then invest, give, donate back into the community, back to charities and organizations that we believe in, that we have a passion for. If we don't have to work 60 hours a week to pay all of our bills, then we can have time to volunteer. We can have time to see the changes and build the changes that we want in Jacksonville, and use our energy and our creativity and our innovation for something else other than just trying to get through the rest of the month and make sure our bills are paid. So I think that as a money coach and trailblazers and what I'm doing, hopefully it starts from that group of women in the room and just spreads out.
So it's really helping to make a city where more people are alive and vibrant and living out their fullest expression.
Absolutely.
And really creating some beautiful, individual, amazing things.
Yes.
In our city, besides just conventional,
Yeah.
more Starbucks or whatever.
Go make Jacksonville weird, Yes.
I love it. So, and tell me your thoughts on Make Jax Weird, or that philosophy of, I guess, being the change you wish to see in the world.
Well, I am a Jacksonville native, and so I have spent the bulk, well, not the entirety, the bulk of my life here. And I love the changes that I've seen in Jacksonville. And I remember being, single and in my 20s in Jacksonville. It wasn't what it is now,
Right.
I think it was, it just wasn't. We're such a spread out city. We have so many different areas and little neighborhoods that I think, make Jax weird. We need to celebrate that. We need to see, I live in Jax Beach. We need to see what's happening in Riverside and vice versa. And we need to create this weird, fantastic, creative, innovative place. And I think that it starts with kind of realizing our own dream and our own potential, and then becoming the change that we want to see.
And I'm glad you hit on that, because I was going to ask you that. What changes have you seen because you've seen what it was like here 20 years ago. I'm a transplant, so
Okay.
I don't know. So can you tell me about the changes? Like, what are you excited that's here right now that didn't used to be here?
Now, I will answer this from my own perspective, because it may have been that Facebook hadn't been invented yet. It may have been just the exposure wasn't there. But I think that there's so many more things to do, like Riverside Art Walk, and all the things that are happening down at Jax Beach. I don't remember that growing up in my 20s. It was like, if you wanted to go out, you went to a bar, and there wasn't an emphasis on art and culture,
Yeah.
and hanging out and doing something other than not that I have anything bars or drinking, but just something that's, a little more creative, a little more exciting. My husband and I recently went to like this improv place that maybe it was in Riverside. I mean, we've never done that in our lives. I
Yeah.
don't remember ever doing, having anything like that. So I think part of it is that we have new and exciting things, and that they are doing a better job of getting the information out.
And yeah, maybe Jacksonville's just finally coming into its own.
I think so. I heard we were on a list of one of the top 7 cities to live in in the United States.
Right.
Who would have thought?
Right.
20 years ago.
And there's so much flourishing here and so much to highlight. And I'm glad I found you.
Thank you. I'm glad I found you too. I'm glad I found, Make Jax Weird. I'm excited.
Our mutual friend Tony Hernandez
Yes.
connected us.
She did.
And you've worked together on some stuff with her?
Yeah, Tony, and then she's actually going to be the first speaker in Trailblazers 2018. So January 30th, out at my office, which is in this super cool co-working space.
Right.
She's going to be our first speaker.
And so are there any more details for that? It's January 30th.
It's January 30th. It is going to be 5:30 to 7:30, women only. You can go to my website or Facebook page to get tickets for that. But it's going to be about vision. It's going to be about creating a vision for your life and then creating a financial vision. And people don't realize they need a financial vision.
Right.
What are you doing with this money?
Right.
Why are you working 40, 60 hours a week?
Right.
What's your end game? So, you need to have a dream, you need to have a plan, and you need to have a financial foundation to make it happen. And so that's what we're going to talk about in January.
And that's what makes you the holistic coach, right? Bringing in like the full life balance, like really enjoying your life.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not just boring financial planning.
Right. Who wants that?
It's exciting financial planning.
Yes. I mean, because I don't want boring financial planning. I promise I make it as the Trailblazers events are fantastic. The money coaching is pretty darn good too. I mean, I make it as fun, and practical as possible. I don't want to be the typical financial money coach person. And who does want that?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to that person.
Right.
And working with women, it's about really getting their mindset right, helping them get over the guilt and shame, empowering them and educating them on what they need to know.
And empowering them on how getting all this sorted out can empower them to give back.
Yes.
And to feel relaxation and ease and have that vision, reach the vision, just like really live a full life.
Yeah, and be in the moment, so that when you're with family or you're volunteering or you're being creative, you can focus on that, and you don't have to worry in the back of your mind that, did I pay this? Am I going to have enough money? Should I be working instead? It's really about getting your money right so that you can enjoy your life.
I like it.
Thanks.
I'll buy it.
All right. Yay.
So if you want to hang out with me in April, we'll see you at the Trailblazers event, January 30th.
Yeah.
And where can they find you online?
aprilcaldwell.me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have a link in the show notes. And any final thoughts?
I think that whether you work with me or not, you need to find somebody. Find somebody that you trust, find somebody that you like, find somebody that's funny, that can help you with your money, but be very careful of who you're taking advice from.
Okay.
So if or if you have somebody already, go back to them. Make sure that you understand everything you need to understand. Make sure you ask all of your questions. Don't take everything at face value, and know where you want to be, know what your vision is, so you can go be weird.
And that was really beautiful, and I loved how we closed that out, but I'm totally intrigued by that warning you threw in on the end, and I have to ask about it.
Okay.
So just say a little bit more, like, that warning. I guess I got a vision of maybe the old school model, or like, I don't know, advice from people who don't have the intention in mind for you to live your best, fullest, most peaceful life that feels good for you.
Right.
Maybe they're more like a shark or something with their money advice.
Right. So if you're working with a financial advisor, or you're working with a money coach, or you're working with somebody at your bank, or whoever is giving you your money advice, and we'll talk about friends in a minute, but a professional, how do you feel? Do you feel rushed? Are your questions answered? Do you feel like you're bothering them when you ask more specific questions? Are they offering you additional information? Are they offering you educational opportunities? Or do you feel like you're just like in and out, and that, all they care about is either billing you or getting your funds, And so if you get those feelings, you know what, you may have the nicest person. You may have been with this person for 10 years. This may have been your parents' person.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they have to be yours. So you need to like really trust your intuition, trust your gut, see how you feel. And if they're making you not want to like look at your money and learn more, you need to see if that's a good fit,
That's really great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And what's funny is that it kind of makes me think of the advice for choosing a medical doctor.
Yes. Right? These are really important people in your lives,
Yeah. Like if you have concerns and you're going to your doctor and they're rushed and you don't feel like they heard you, and you're not getting served and your needs aren't getting met.
Yeah. And then you're not going to want to tell them when something else pops up. I was going to make a really gross medical reference, but I won't. But if something else comes up, you're not going to want to tell them, because you're like, oh, well, they're going to make me feel bad, or I'm going to feel stupid. And that's not what you want.
Yeah. So there has to be trust and safety and openness, and maybe with women too, maybe it's harder to open up sometimes or feel totally safe with someone else. So like you working specifically with women, maybe they might feel more comfortable and safe and open to go with you with their guilt and their shame than their financial advisor who's been in the family for a long time.
Right. And that is my hope. I mean, because talk about your money is very vulnerable.
Yes,
and you have to trust that person. And kind of, what I do the financial advising and I do the money coaching, which are two different things. So you might have somebody that's managing all your money, and I'm good and all my money is with this person, but you still don't have the mindset. You still have the guilt and the shame, and they're not really looking at the day-to-day things. That's something that I can help with.
Yeah.
And then I did promise I would talk about the friends that we're taking money advice from. In most cases, just don't. I mean, that's unless like I was saying earlier, unless you know the true story and they are in control and they are educated and they know why they are making this investment or this choice, you really don't want to take advice from friends. See how they spend their money, see, how the things that they say. But in most cases, you can complain about money to each other if you want, but advice, I would be very structured with that.
Yeah. So seek advice from professionals.
Seek professional help. Yes.
And if you don't vibe with your professional, if you don't feel totally safe and comfortable, then it's okay to find someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that ties into the empowerment thing too, because I think women who don't feel empowered, they feel like they can't choose another care provider or financial advisor. They feel like they have to stick with whoever they with because there's not enough empowerment inside of them to even switch to someone else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, or there's the guilt, or there's, I mean, you know, the shame and the, you know, I feel bad and, you know, and don't. I mean, this is your life. This is your family's life. This is your future, you know, and you should absolutely, you know, vibe and get along and trust your money coach or your advisor. I know, but you're, you know, that's not your friend. You know, this person is not your friend in that arena. I mean, y'all may go get drinks afterwards, but you need to make sure they're knowledgeable too. So just because they may be incredibly funny, you know, like, you know, so many are, you know, that work at my company. But you need to make sure that they're knowledgeable. You know, you can check out their licenses. You can look and see if they've had complaints against them. So it needs to be, you know, a very well-rounded balance.
And it has to feel right.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the other analogy, like being a therapist myself, and according to all the research and the training that I've had and seen, it's the relationship that's healing. So if it doesn't feel right, it's just not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be guarded. You're going to not listen, or, you know. So, yeah, no, I think that's absolutely spot on.
And I love that there's scientific evidence to support that. That it's actually just the relationship. Right? That's therapeutic. That's it. Like, people just need to feel cared for by someone. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I like how it's fitting into with the work you do. And we're making analogies to other professionals. Yeah, I know, right? It's all about relationships and connection. Yes. And and that requires being vulnerable and open and really reaching for what you want in life and not accepting the standard. Yeah. Or not accepting feeling shame about your money and do something about it.
Absolutely. Do something about it, you know. And there's small changes that can be made. It doesn't have to be this upside down, you know, everything is out of whack kind of immediate change. It can be small changes, but do something.
Mm-hmm. And I guess a final question. What advice would you have for people who are listening who feel inspired by you and want to take the steps towards living out their dreams, I guess?
I think that you need to have a dream. I think people need to dream. I think that I'm a planner. So I think once you have the dream, you need a plan. And I love my spreadsheets and I love my graphs. And I think that they need to write down the goals. You know, what's the big dream? What's the goal? How would I achieve them? And come up with a plan. And really a big piece of that is going to be a financial foundation. You know, whatever your dream is, if it's building a business, starting a nonprofit, quitting your day job and becoming an artist, how are you going to live and how are you going to eat?
Right.
So you need the dream, but then you also need some practical aspects to it. But think about it. You know, I mean, don't just cut yourself short. Don't limit your dreams by your income. Come up with a plan and see how you can make this a reality. I say reasonably and with a plan, go for it.
Yeah. And that's the first action step. So then, like, taking the dream from something that's in your mind, putting the pen to paper. Yeah. Or your fingers on the keyboard in Excel sheet.
Right,
and,
yes.
To take that first action step towards making it reality. Yeah. And that's step one.
Right. And, I mean, not to limit dreams, but you really need to think about, too, is this the right dream? So if you're 52 years old and you want to become an ice skating Olympian, you need to think about whether or not that's realistic, you know?
Right.
So, but if you have a true dream, passion, burning desire, and if that's it, do the research and see if you can make it happen. And if not, how close can you get? You know, can you fulfill that dream by helping other girls become an Olympian? And what does that look like?
Yeah. And I think, also thinking about why do you want what you think you want, focusing in on how it would make you feel. So if you are 52 years old and you want to be an ice skating Olympian and knowing that maybe that's not realistic, well, why do you want to do that? How do you want to feel? So envision it and think of the emotions that go along with it. And it's like, I just want to feel graceful and free. Yeah. So what else could you do to get that feeling of feeling graceful and free?
That is such a great point. Yeah, I love that.
I didn't invent it.
Totally take the credit because like the best thing I've ever heard. So
yeah, it's from there's a book called The Desire Map. Danielle Laporte. Yeah. It's her work on your core desired feelings, but it's something that I've seen. I read tons of self-help books for it's part of my job. And I see that theme over and over again, in like spiritual teachings and wherever that the emotion, thinking about the emotion of how you want to feel, and that's really powerful. Yeah. And then using that for your choosing what do you want to do in the world.
I love that. See, that's why people need you, because I've heard about her and I think I've looked at her blog, but like to sit down and like read all that, you just need to tell me what I need to know. So
there you go. Yeah. So I feel good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll all see you January 30th.
January 30th. Can't wait.
And go ahead, anyone out there, you can send me a message, makejacksweird@gmail.com with any questions about this interview. And you can reach out to April Caldwell at her website, and we'll link it in the description. And I want to hear your stories. Honestly, I want to hear if you heard this, if it impacted you. Tell me how, and come to the event. We'll see you there too.
Sounds good.